Welcome to the DFL Breakdown, presented by GrizLeeGear, with your hosts, Lucas Ford and Ricky Epperson.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the DFL Breakdown, the number one cartoon side character themed, league-specific, weekly fantasy football podcast in the world.
That's right.
We're back. Right. We're back in full. You see him, you hear him. My boy Ricky is here with me. We are ready for a hot episode of the DFL Breakdown. We're deep into the playoffs, into round 2. Had a lot of exciting matchups in round 1. And none that you were a part of, right, Ricky, with Mr. Bye Week over here.
That's right. We are complete. And yes, my bye week was great. I like getting through the first round of the playoffs. Feels good. Feels weird though. Kind of feels like I'm out of practice all of a sudden. It just builds more anticipation for a week 16, and then it's like, yeah, you got the bye week, and then you lose week 16, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I waited to lose. That feels way worse. Waiting to win, incredible. I'd be thrilled. Waiting to lose, it feels extra bad. But I'm good. How are you, Luke?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm excited for this week. Week 15 was a crazy one, and week 16 is set to be exciting here. It's December 19th. We got our Thursday night football game tonight. That's the Broncos versus the Chargers, a super important divisional matchup in the NFL and a fantasy implication heavy matchup for us. We'll start seeing some answers in your matchup versus Riley this week. A little bit of spoilers ahead there. But before we get into all that, I did want to say this is the last episode before Christmas. So in Christmas spirit here, we have a little Christmas themed segment for you. It's it's a nice little naughty or nice segment for our players, teams, and coaches of the NFL this year. So let's get right to it.
Naughty or nice?
Ring-a-ding-a-ling-a-ding-darling.
I love that sound effect. We used it a little bit last year too, but let's talk about one of the first naughty list. We're going to start with the naughty list players, and I have someone just in mind. It's this guy right here, Aaron Rodgers. If anyone belongs on the naughty list more, I can't think of him, because this guy has just single-handedly joined the Jets, taken over the whole organization, and driven it straight into the dirt. It's been just a nightmare to watch. Even as someone who doesn't like the Jets, this has just been like the car crash you can't look away from. And it's your fault, Aaron. You did this, man. And it's been obvious for everyone to look at, and painful and naughty. Coal for you.
Call for Aaron Rodgers. But listen, Luke, it couldn't be his fault. Come on, he's still throwing the deep balls and making the passes, and he hasn't ruined the culture or anything like that. I don't know. Something about forcing your way into driving a jet just doesn't sit right with America. So,
oh man,
I think that's definitely why Aaron Rodgers finds himself on the naughty list this year. You didn't think they could get any worse, and then he's like, "Well, watch this. I'm gonna get my coach fired." It's all bad. It's been bad, bad, bad. Santa is definitely watching, and Aaron Rodgers is getting cold.
Get that coal, Aaron Rodgers. Let's look at another player here. Ricky, why don't you talk to me about this guy right here?
Oh, is that Mike Tyson? Oh no, it's George Pickens. That's right. George Pickens has just been fighting, arguing, pushing, shoving, probably biting. We just haven't seen it yet. But Pickens has been engaging in acts of violence for the past few weeks against any CB within arm's reach. It goes back to his college days. In researching our naughty nice list, we just realized how hot-tempered Pickens has been throughout his entire career. Doesn't matter the score, doesn't matter the situation. He's not going to let you push him over without punching you back. Fighting bad. That's not football. Naughty list.
Yeah, Cole for you, George. He's just mugging people on plays where he should still be playing. The ball's in the air and he's fighting defensive backs. I mean, this picture tells quite the story with the refs all mixed up in the snow in the snow bowl in the snow globe game. This was pretty funny, and not the only time George has been throwing punches on the field this year. So yeah, Cole for you, buddy. That's naughty behavior if I've ever seen it. Well, we got some players out of the way for some naughty list candidates, but we have a couple teams in mind as well. The Bears, the Chicago Bears, just the whole organization, man. Naughty. What are you guys doing? You have all this hype coming into the season. You draft Caleb Williams, and everything goes to shit. You trust Matt Eberflus with anything after what he's continued to show in the NFL? I mean, it was all bad. Shane Waldron was terrible. Everyone knew he was terrible. He looked terrible last year for the Seahawks. And you're just squandering the potential and hopes and dreams of not only all the players, but everyone in the stands. I mean, Chicago Bears fans are at, I want to say an all-time low, but that's not true, because they just live in the gutters. Their soul has been stepped on so many times, but this one is the freshest, I guess, in the long list of wounds that they've been forced to carry here. But it hurt. It runs deep, man. This hurts to watch, even as someone who's not a Bears fan.
Yeah, I mean, the stats right there on the screen. First time allowing 6+ sacks in back-to-back games. He's setting records for rookie year sacks, even over other Bears quarterbacks. The pass rusher's getting to him. They've been doing it all year, and it's because whatever Chicago's coaching, it is not the O-line standing up to whatever it needs to for Caleb. I mean, maybe he holds onto the ball a little long. I mean, he's a rookie, right? And I think he's scared of getting hit, and so he's probably a little rigid back there in the pocket too. I don't know. You know what? Why isn't Robert Saleh just come on over to the Bears? You think that's an off-season move that might happen?
If I'm Robert Saleh, I'm staying as far away as I can from any franchise that has just the stink on it like the Jets did, because you need somewhere that you can rehabilitate.
Like used to winning and he can help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he goes I think he's with the Packers right now, doing stuff with the Packers.
Yeah, he's corresponding with them and stuff like that. I don't know if he's officially a coordinator or anything like that. Saleh to the Cowboys would be pretty okay. You know,
could be cool, but
it still has that stink though that you were talking about. I don't know. Cowboys do stink.
A story for another time. Regardless, let's
Bears all Cole.
Bears Cole for sure, and let's talk a little bit about your pick for a team that deserves some Cole. It's not Joe Burrow specifically.
It's half a team. It's the Bengals defense. They deserve Cole because they have put this man through so much shit all year long. He's doing he's doing his job. You know, in New England, we're do your job, right? That was the motto when we were at the height of our what do they call it? Dynasty. Thank you. Do your job. He's doing his. He's putting up the points, and it's like the defense thinks that they need to put points up on the other side to keep him going or something. I don't I don't understand. They just leak like a sieve. Everyone gets a score on them, and there's not enough Joe Burrow could do to keep up with it, which is naughty. Which is why Cole for the Bengals defense.
They've been pretty historically bad. I mean, God, the stats that they're putting up on offense are staggering, and the fact that they still lose, it's like it's unbelievable in a way that it's hard to describe. You look at the numbers on paper and you're like, it's impossible for a team to lose this game after doing this. And then they lost that game. You're like, how? Like, what more can you do? And I don't know. I feel like it would almost be harder to play against nothing. Like, you just run yourself out and get tired. At least they give you enough of a break in between by acting and sitting around on the field and taking their time.
They're helping much more than they're hindering. I get that. I mean, it's one thing if you have one game like that in a season where it's like, whoa, Joe Burrow threw 6 touchdowns and lost, but it was one game, right? It's like it's one game where he did that and lost, and it's like, that's crazy, and it is. But when you string like 3 or 4 of them together and you're like, yeah, so basically he's just been a stat god for a whole month now, and they haven't won any games. And it's like, huh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Enough said. Cole
for the Bengals defense. All right, let's talk about your pick here. I might have mixed these two up, but your pick for coach here, it's Mike McDaniel, and tell us why, Ricky.
Look at him. that man for sure kicked the stripper out of his hotel room this morning. But like after doing a line of coke on her back and slapping her ass on the way out, like he's gone full Miami. He's all Vice, and those things are affecting the Dolphins' game plan. I felt like in years past he's like been clever. He's devised plans. He's outrun the league, and maybe it's a bit of like the league going, okay, they're fast. Let's just defend fast. Right? Maybe it's that. But I feel like that's column A, and there's still a little column B going on here, which is Mike McDaniels is not as sharp as he's been, because he's just constantly glass-eyed.
He's coked out. Yeah, he looks like a Miami coke lord, man. It's pretty shocking transformation the last couple of years of him being in Miami, but he has fully embraced it, and maybe it's not for the best. Reel it in a little, buddy. Get some discipline. You're still somewhat, I think you have the smallest chance to still be in it, maybe. I don't remember the full playoff chances, but it's not completely doomered, and you probably should try to be saving your job here after the type of showing that you put out this year. I don't know. Crazy stuff. Definitely deserves the Cole. Stay off the drugs, kids, or else you too could end up like Mike McDaniel. Well, I have a coach here to talk about as well. This unhappy fellow, Raheem Morris, who is in charge of the floundering Falcons, and the benching of Kirk Cousins is something that's been a new development and crazy to witness, but like what the hell, man? Like, this team can't do shit, and Kirk has been bad, but I don't really feel great about Raheem Morris's function in all of this either. The Falcons just look dysfunctional, and I mean, Drake London is catching footballs, but everything else has just been whatever. I'm sure Alex is not happy with the way Bijan Robinson has been worked into the scheme. Kyle Pitts continues to be a giant, massive, huge disappointment. It's just everything about this team doesn't do things the way you want it to. And there's one man at the center of all that, and it's Raheem Morris.
Yeah, you think Raheem's like been inspired by too many like Mr. Beast videos? He's like, guys, today we're taking $1.8 million and burning it over the course of 18 weeks.
Lighting it on fucking fire. Yeah, that's what they're doing with Kirk Cousins' contract, and it's not just him, it's the front office too, but like, I don't know. Like I guess this is just really, it is all Falcons, everything Falcons right now, because the Falcons are just, they're falconing it up for real. So That's all we had to say about that. And that's all of our naughty list players, teams, and coaches. But special shout out to one more naughty list resident here. It's Lehman, and this is why. This is one of the very few poop hat pictures we received from Lehman this year. Despite him being the loser, he just kind of opted out of the very easy to accomplish loser punishment, and that makes me sad. Didn't want to have to be such a hard ass about it, but next year.
Yeah, I mean, come on, just kind of like the Bengals defense. Do your job. Send in the poop hat picks. It's a punishment. Be punished. But hey, maybe a little lump of coal will go a long way. It kind of looks like the insulation in where he watches football is maybe a little spotty. Maybe a little coal fire inside will help warm him up. And well, I don't know. If it's so cold in there, why aren't you just wearing the poop hat for warmth and then just
This double hat combo looking real nice right here, man. Like, yeah, that should keep you nice and warm there.
The Instagram models can do it. You can do it too, Lehman. We have faith.
All right, well, enough of our naughty list, but something related to Lehman here. My first player on the nice list is, someone that has been helping Lehman all season, someone that's been very happy to be doing what they're doing right now. It's Josh Allen, the front runner MVP candidate. He's just been doing it all, and even though everything else has let Lehman down this season, Josh Allen has been that guy that Lehman believed in, and Josh Allen, damn it, believed in him back, and has just been carrying his team to any sense of relevance so far. And yeah, what a nice guy for it, right? He's really doing it for a lot of people right now. It's not just Lehman, it's the entire Bills organization, it seems like. Who do they got out there at receiver? They got Amari Cooper mid-season, but he runs 40% of the routes. Keon Coleman's a rookie. Khalil Shakir is Khalil Shakir. They got Mac Hollins looking like a star out there. Like, it's Josh Allen is doing it with anybody and everybody. And putting up with a hard situation and doing it with a smile and coming out, smelling like roses. So yeah, nice guy, Josh Allen.
Now, here's a guy. I mean, you were talking about doing it with everyone, and I feel like that sounds like Tom Brady. I'm sure Chris Collinsworth would say it sounds like Patrick Mahomes. But
Patrick Mahomes.
Now, here's a guy who looks just like Patrick Mahomes, just different. No, I mean, Josh Allen has been doing it with little weapons, little support. And I think he's kind of served as the antithesis of the KC Chiefs of Patrick Mahomes. He's not doesn't need the refs' help to get it done. It has a famous fiance. It isn't getting screen time for her. It's I don't know. He's just kind of doing it and doing it well, and we appreciate that. And hey, he beat the Chiefs. Extra presents for the guy that beat the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, definitely deserves a lot.
America's hero,
taking him down. Absolutely,
Santa's hero. Patrick Mahomes isn't on the nice list.
King of the North, King of the Snow.
Yeah.
Josh Allen. Well, let's talk about your pick for a nice list player, Mr. Baker Mayfield.
Laser Mayfield to you. This guy. Now here's a guy. I'm gonna stop that. I promise. But no, Baker Mayfield. Every day he shows up. He wants to compete. He's doing the Tommy DeVito celebration. I mean, there's banter, but it's all in this for the sake of sport and competitiveness. I feel like he walks the line of between asshole and endearing, and he does it well. He's just on the side of endearing, at least for me. And I don't know, just the competitive spirit and the ability to just go out there and send out blocks 20 yards down the field for a run play, or like I think it was like a screen pass where he like 20 yards up the field, he's the lead blocker. I mean, that's a nice guy. That's a good teammate.
That's your guy right there.
Yeah, he's just brought the Bucks and he found a home with the Bucks, and he's not squandering it all. Nice guy. Nice list.
Guy. Yeah, nice
Presents.
guy. Nice list. Baker Mayfield, definitely, like you said, doing his job, doing it with a smile on his face, and making the most out of the new situation, new opportunity he's been given. And I didn't have a ton of faith in him this year, and he's exceeded that, and he's really just shown to be a tough, gritty player, and having a lot of fun to watch. So. Good pick for the nice list there. I believe next is the teams that we've selected. I went ahead and picked the Minnesota Vikings as a nice list team. They've just been good vibes. They did that white chicks dance in the end zone the other day, and that was pretty awesome. But Sam Darnold coming in, having a comeback season, Justin Jefferson proving some doubters wrong this offseason. No one doubted his talent, but people thought he might have a bit of a bad season with, Sam Darnold at the helm and some changes in the offense. Aaron Jones has been loving life there. He came up with the, the bank vault they talked about this week, because they're at M&T Bank Stadium. They're not at Lambeau. He used to do the Lambeau leap, but now he does the bank vault. So it's just something he was talking about this week, and I thought that was pretty cool. Vibes are high. They're happy. They're just doing their thing in Minnesota, and it's been fun to watch all season. I'm obviously a fan of Van Ginkel on defense, but their whole squad has been electric, and they got a good thing going, and vibes are high in Minnesota, so they belong on the nice list for the way they've been doing it this year.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season with lowered expectations, they don't have that rookie J.J. McCarthy there. It's like, all right, it's gonna be J.J. McCarthy proving year. It's like, oh, it's Sam Darnold. Like, okay, the year's kind of like, go out there and play. It isn't like, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl. But then they start winning, and it's like, oh, there's no expectations. There's nothing weighing us down like that. So, yeah, they get to have fun, and it turns into winning, and nice list. Get presents. No expectations, just winning. Go ahead and collect.
Hell yeah. Well, why don't you tell us about your team, too? Speaking
about funny the Lions. Do you like when teams go for it on fourth down? I do.
Boy, do I have the team for you.
Yeah, well, listen, not only do I have the team for you, but they've been so nice that they've made other teams also start to do it at a higher frequency in an effort to keep up with them. I mean, not just teams facing them either. I think across the league, it's like, all right, is Dan Campbell going for it here? Because if he is, I probably should be thinking at least about it a little bit, right? Like, 4th and 3, 5 years ago, you're just going to punt the ball.
Yeah.
That's so boring. Do you like punting? No, punting bad. Punting's for naughty list people. Going for it on 4th, that's exciting. I mean, even if you don't convert, the other team's like, nice, we've got a scoring opportunity. And then Jared Goff has to march back down the field and be like, all right, yeah, we gave him the ball at the 40, and now we got to go score more points, I guess. Oh, well. And they do it. They win. Amon-Ra St. Brown's upside down there because, he's like that. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery had a great year being Sonic and Knuckles, a dynamic duo. It's all good. There's no part of the Lions team you can point to and be like, hey, that guy's kind of an asshole. It just doesn't... Well, okay, Kirby Joseph. But other than that, I mean, they're plagued by injuries, but they're still doing the thing, and they're still like, Dan Campbell's like, none of those injuries can be in vain. We have to keep winning. And it's like, okay, man. inspiring. Let's go get the dub. So yeah, we went back-to-back NFC North teams. I don't care. They got the best vibes. They're vibing up there. They're doing well. I think I was gonna pick the Chiefs. Fuck out of here.
Hell
Get the
no.
fuck out of here. Hell no.
Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, no, not the Chiefs. I agree with the vibes being high in Detroit. This touchdown celebration is one of my favorites of recent years. And yeah, despite the injuries, they're still just going strong. And even though Knuckles is absent now from the Sonic and Knuckles duo, they're still set up to make a run in the playoffs. And I'd love to see them in the Super Bowl. I think they're the perfect team for it. I love seeing them go on fourth down. I love seeing everything they do. I think they have an amazing offense, just a good scheme, good plan, and a defense that bites people's kneecaps off. So. Yeah, in the nicest way possible. Nice list for the Lions, and let's move on to our nice coaches here. I picked Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers, a whole organization also seems to be riding a high right now, and even though they're not having like the most successful season, they're still in the hunt of a playoff run. So anything could still happen there. And these two, Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, just seem to be gelling. Everyone thought this was going to be a run first, run heavy, run only team, and they've really embraced Justin Herbert in throwing as well. I mean, there was rumors this offseason of, whether or not Jim Harbaugh is going to come in and want to trade Justin Herbert. And now looking at them even just talking to each other on the sideline, you couldn't even imagine a world where that would be possible because Jim is in love with this guy. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool that I think Justin Herbert's having an awesome time too. I think that they're just kind of both really warming up and becoming a nice tight unit there. And yeah, it's cool to see. He's really succeeding in the role of a coach, and even though it's not translating into double-digit wins at the moment, it doesn't mean that they're not on the right track. So yeah, good work, Jim, and you belong on the nice list.
Yeah, I feel like coaching is like keeping your coaching job is hard, right? And it's year one, right? So it's year one. He comes in. And they don't have the best record, right? But they're still kind of in the fight here. But either way, even if it's a season where they don't make the playoffs, you're never looking at them going, okay, it's coaching incompetency. It's there's something wrong with the scheme. It's just like, okay, they just need a little bit more time. Like it's evident that they just need some time, maybe a couple extra weapons, a couple extra pieces. Quentin Johnson could catch more than 50% of his passes, or
I'm sure that would be helpful. More.
Yeah, I think just 50% would probably be an improvement, right? But they linked up. Harbaugh just was like, yeah, Herbert. I watched him. Like I had expectations for him coming into it. He's exceeded him. He's the real fucking deal. It's crazy watching him work. And yeah, after their bye week 5, they were like, I can't just keep the Lamborghini parked in the garage. I gotta let it out. So I think he had to change his plan around the fact that he had a weapon like Justin Herbert. And I think that's awesome. Nice
list. Yeah, let's move on now to your pick for a coach on the nice list.
Yeah, look at him. Very nice. Hey, have you ever felt wronged by a ref? Look at him. He's fighting your battle for you. Kevin O'Connell is the QB safe haven. Look what he did for Sam Darnold. He's like, Sam, come here. You're only here for a year, but next year you can go get a contract for like $85 million somewhere. You're welcome. Merry Christmas, buddy. Yeah, wow. Sam Darnold gets paid, right? Like it's not going to be Kirk Cousins' money, right? But he's going to go somewhere, and he's going to make like north or south of 100 million. Kirk made 180, right? And that's really high. Yeah. Gardner Minshew on the low end made like 15. Most of the time, like 25 is like a low end starting quarterback. I think he gets like 60 or 70.
I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna get a multi-year deal, like a big long contract right off the rip with a new team. And if they do, it'll probably have some outs in it. I don't like a 2 year, a
2 year, 60 million.
two-year.
2 year, 50 million. That sounds about the ballpark to me.
Yeah,
2 year,
that's. I mean,
50.
that's even lower than what I was thinking. So sure, I'm about that, but not anywhere for 100,000 or anything like that. That'd be crazy, or 100 million rather. That'd be crazy.
But hey, he's getting him paid. He's gonna, foster Daniel Jones back to health. He's gonna foster JJ McCarthy back to health.
Oh my god. It's a
He's
money
gonna
making
do.
factory there.
Yeah. He's also just weakening other teams because he's like, yeah, look, Kirk Cousins, here you go. By the way, he tore his Achilles and he's old, so sucks to suck, Falcons. Guess we'll see you in like 5 or 6 years. But overall, he's not usually yelling at refs, and when he does, good. Fuck the refs, you know. Good guy, nice guy. Santa approves.
Yeah, and we talked about how just the vibes are good in Minnesota right now, and he's definitely a big part of it. So, yeah, nice list for KOC, and the rest of the Vikings included. All right, well that's our naughty and nice list there. I hope you guys are all on the nice list as well coming into Christmas, but we'll see which ones of these games ended up on their naughty and nice list for the year here as we move into our game breaker and then our score summary. But yeah, we definitely have a game breaker to talk about, so why don't we go ahead and get right into that here.
I'm coming! Here I come! Game Breaker.
All right. Sleeper totally ripped us off this week and didn't give us any sort of breakdown or summary or whatever the hell it is that they give us every week. That I take all my screenshots of and put up here, so I'm pretty sad about that, but we had a very clear and obvious game breaker here. It was Jared Goff, who put up 50 points this week.
Yeah, he did.
5 passing touchdowns, 494 yards, even carried the ball a couple times for 13 yards. Did fumble it once, but they didn't lose it, so that's pretty cool. 50 points? And a big part of the absolute smackdown Nate laid on Eric. Now, mind you, he did win by like 56 points. So even if Jared Goff scored 0 points, he would have won, which is a pretty crazy stat to say out loud. But you did get 20 points out of TJ Watt and 30 points out of James Conner. That's kind of more in the score summary, though. I can't resist the temptation when I'm looking at it right now, right here. But what did you think of Jared Goff's performance, his game-breaking performance this week?
I mean, 5 touchdowns. Anyone's throwing 5 touchdowns is having a great week. Josh Allen did 6 touchdowns last week, and you start to go, oh, okay, well, I mean, 5 is like kind of one less. But 5's always a huge accomplishment. I mean, honestly, I feel like for quarterbacks, 2 is like, okay, they threw 2 touchdowns. We had what we wanted out of them. 3 is like, yeah, nice week. 4 is like, oh, 4? 5 is great, and 6 is just,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's against Buffalo, and they lose, right? Wait, did they lose while Josh Allen did the 6 touchdowns? Am I out of touch?
His 6 touchdowns was 2 weeks ago, but I think Josh did also do 5 touchdowns. But I think
he put up 45 points.
Yeah.
45 points. That's not the same. Different.
And a win.
Yeah, I mean, losing here, that sucks, but obviously these 2 teams fought. If that's the Super Bowl preview, 42-48 there, that's good.
That. Oh, I would love
that. That's
that.
good stuff. Can you imagine? It's 4th and 4 in the Super Bowl, and
go for it.
Dan Campbell's like, you know what? Go for it. And then, like, that just becomes a moment in history forever.
End of the third quarter, onside kick. Yeah,
Yeah,
go for it. Who cares?
I don't know. Oh, I did want to say honorable shout out, nice list, James Conner for being healthy.
Well, let's yeah, I know we're already kind of looking at it here, but just for the sake of continuity and keeping everything similar here, we are going to go to the official score summary segment here. So without further ado, we'll do that and talk about the rest of this matchup.
Score summary.
Yeah, we did just kind of touch on it a little bit. James Conner, 30.8 points this week for Nate as well. Has stayed healthy. Even Trey Benson, who's his handcuff, his backup got injured before he did, which is amazing. You never see that out of James Conner, and it looks like this is finally the year that James Conner for sure plays every game of the year, which is amazing. Yeah, congratulations, Nate, for picking someone who's going to be healthy and productive through the entire playoffs. Amazing foresight here, incredible stuff there. And him and Kyron Williams both amazing health and production through the playoffs. So good job there, and we're going to hope that Jamar Chase does the same thing for you this week. If you are looking for a win as well, 19.4 points is always great to get out of a wide receiver. But yeah, solid win here. Like we said, won by over 50 points. And what happened with Eric's team that kind of let him down here? Was there anything you saw?
I mean, CJ Stroud continues to struggle to. I don't know. He's got a fumble loss there. He threw a couple TDs. Like I said, there were a couple TDs. And you're like, yeah, I'm in a good spot. But he didn't break the 200-yard mark. He fumbled the ball. I don't know, just not quite enough. It wasn't a complete stinker, but it is not 50 points. And then Isaiah Pacheco, back to form in KC, or is he? Just one reception, 13 carries, 14 touches is not what you're looking for out of Pacheco. I haven't checked. I don't know if Kareem Hunt has like 10 on him. 10 or 12 over him if it's become a committee, because, I mean, honestly, if I'm KC, then yeah, I'd run a committee. Hunt's looked great. Pacheco's coming back. Just run A and B. Huge James Cook game. That's great. Huge Mike Evans game. That's great. But I think, unless I'm mistaken, those are the two shining bright spots. Everything else is, mediocrity or just above expectations for the kicker there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, just Cade Otton's kind of fallen off. I mean, Mike Evans had a huge game, so no room for Cade there. And Jacoby Myers, 12 is pretty decent, but it's not 19. Across the way of Jamar Chase.
For sure.
To me, Breece Hall is kind of the biggest letdown on Eric's team this year. I mean, drafted in the first round, is currently like running back 29 on the season. It's not supposed to be there. You know whose fault that is? Ayahuasca, Aaron Rodgers hijacking a plane fault. That's
and this is really the worst time to do it too, right? You have your bye week, whatever it is, week 12 or something like that. Well, we just had week 14. We just had week 15. 14, 13, yeah, week 12 bye, and then 5 points off due to an injury, and then 13 points right into the playoffs here. And it did end up costing Eric. It was more than just Breece Hall here, and really this wasn't even that bad of a week. Again, but just the 190, one of the all-time scores in the Dimmadome, was hard to compete with. Yeah,
135.
Any excuses.
Yeah, 135 just is not going to do it in the playoffs this year. The addition of the IDPs has boosted those points. 135 was like the median pretty consistently, or like 140 some weeks. So if you're in the top 6 players, then that median goes, it's up. You got to put up even more. It's going to be like 145 plus to win from here on out, unless 2 teams bottom out. It's tough sledding in the playoffs. And Eric's team couldn't hang.
Yep, so they have been knocked out here. It was a, first round of the playoffs banger, a nice score from both teams, not any sort of wet noodle fight, and there really wasn't any wet noodle fights this week. But a good showing from both sides, but one, like I said, the all-time highest scores in the Dimmadome was enough for Nate to move on from round 1. Good job, Nate, and tough luck, Eric. We'll see you in the 5th and 6th place game against our next matchup loser here, the AZ 69ers. George Droid took him down with a 180-point rout. His 118 points, the 69ers there, was not enough to get him anywhere here. We talked about, 135 not being enough on average. This definitely wasn't it for him. Bijan Robinson was disappointing. Jawan Jennings only scored 5. Hunter Henry with 6.5. Your kicker only scoring 5 points. Just not enough here. Even though Jaden Daniels scored 26, that was pretty much the only thing that's green on any of his projected versus his finish here, and that leads to a 70-point, 60-point loss here, and that's kind of what you get.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, the 135 number has shifted up. This falls even below that. You can't have, even though it looked like all those guys got close, right? Like, no one, gave him a goose or, a real bad stinker. Jawan Jennings in that rain game was really bad. 2 of 9 is rough.
Rough.
But, I mean, Alex, there's just no chance that he was going to reach Riley here on the other side, who put up 180. Very strong. Kind of kicked his teeth in a little bit here with CeeDee Lamb and DJ Moore. TJ Hawkins doing what he needs. So it was always going to be a really tough battle, and Alex needed to really overperform, and all of his guys slightly underperformed. So, again, tough sledding in the playoffs. 180 and 190 for the first 2 matchups is incredibly tough to come up against week 1 in your playoffs. Gives me pause. My bye week, I'm like, damn, glad I wasn't out there. I do think I actually scored 183 or something like that on the bench. I calculated it, but nonetheless, it's spooky, and I don't want to win by 3 points with 2 teams scoring 180. That sounds like an anxiety attack.
Yeah, could have been spooky stuff. I'm sure, like you said, it gives you and Chris pause coming into the bracket off your bye week against 2 teams that are white hot, coming off of an excellent win in round 1. Yeah, not much more to say. George Droid, Riley really just taking home a dominant win. Kamara looked great, even though he sustained an injury in that game. We'll see if he ends up playing this week. Jalen Hurts, amazing as he has been the last few weeks here, really for a while. I mean, these finishes are insane. He just keeps doing it here, and the rushing touchdowns are just a bygone conclusion by the time you get to the game. They're going to get it to the 1-yard line, and he's going to put it in himself. He always does, and he always will. Just nuts production to rely on there, and yeah, an excellent win for Riley. I mean, 26 points out of CeeDee Lamb, 20 out of Brandon Aubrey.
Oh, the Zin Zone.
Here it is.
Forgot to talk about it. Yeah, no, we've decided to coin these bottom 3 people as the Zin Zone. Riley has been crushing it all year long. I think it's been a big part of his success.
Huge.
and he's going to need to continue that to go and claim a title this year. If the Zen Zone is strong, then Riley's team produces. I mean, 60 points out of those guys. I mean, that's like it's like a little bit more than a Jared Goff. Obviously, 60 is fantastic. You're hoping that your 3 skill players can all put up 20 points like that, and to get it down there in the Zen Zone is awesome.
The Zen Zone, yeah, he's had a fat Zen Zone all season, and it doesn't look like it is changing now. And not too much spoilers for the projection preview, but I did talk about the Chargers and the Broncos playing tonight, so we'll see if he gets a nice strong start. If it's a 6 milli Gumpilly in the Zen Zone tonight, or perhaps even fatter than that. But anyway, we had a couple more matches this week, not nearly as consequential, but a few teams playing for pride. The Toaster Baths and the Dogs squared up. And it may not have really been a wet noodle fight in total, but I'm still going to give it to him.
Wet noodle fight of the week.
Just because of how pathetic Corey was in this one. Almost got his ass...
Hold on. Oh, I gotta go.
Okay. Almost got his ass doubled up here. Put up 89 points versus Lehman's 176. And yeah, I mean, you barely even tried in this one, it seemed like. And, Xavier Legette got injured. Cooper Kupp, only 0 points. Only 0. Yeah, I mean, just 0 for the first time in ages. Doesn't get any points whatsoever. That game was absolutely miserable, the Thursday game of this past week. And Cooper Kupp was a byproduct of that. Everything went bad for Corey. Micah Parsons was good and Sam Laporta was good, but everything else was pretty miserable. Even Najee Harris only got 3.1. Just nothing to depend on for him here. And George Pickens was out, which has been a big part of his success so far this season as well. So, 89 points for him. Meanwhile, Lehman had a fantastic week. Josh Allen could have been a game breaker on almost any week, but this one here, 45.28 points. And it sounds like Ricky is back. What's going on, Ricky?
Well, not too much. I'm back. Don't worry about it. If you saw that, you didn't see it,
No one saw anything, so it's totally fine.
I was running away from the Zins. That was the issue.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
Well, in any case here, I was talking about how the Toaster Baths put up almost 180 on the Dogs, and almost doubled his score, and Josh Allen was a big part of that. 4 touchdowns this week, not the 5 that I was saying. 4 touchdowns this week, but they had a couple rushing touchdowns from James Cook as well. And I mean, an excellent week from the Toaster Baths. And even though they didn't make it into the playoffs, they're putting up playoff numbers here, and it's just wasted on the Dogs.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just the dog pound, right? Just whatever. Corey didn't make playoffs. I mean, his team, he's putting a lineup together, but his team has been in tatters. There's, it's basically just the team he drafted or drafted players and just no adjustments. DeAndre Swift shouldn't be anyone's starting running back at this point. It should be like a emergency flex option type of thing, but he's been holding strong there in the RB2 spot. Got a Cooper Kupp stinker. That stinks, but again, wasn't going to put up the 80 that he needed to come back, so who cares? It's tough. These matchups start to get harder and harder to look at. It's like those the commentators when it's like a 40-6 game, and they're like, "Well, what else you want me to talk about here? The grass is getting greener every day."
Exactly. Yeah. So why don't we just move on from that stinker here? And like I said, it wasn't very consequential anyway. Move on to real quickly the Ball Hogs versus the Poop Hat Will Be Mine team. And the result, I guess, is exactly what both teams were aiming for. I scored almost 160 points on the week. And no thanks to Saquon Barkley, only 9.4 to him. But huge production out of Amon Ra, 37.3. I got 21.8 out of Jerry Jeudy. The Kansas City defense scored me 24 points as well, so that was great. And yeah, I mean, everything else was pretty cool. Trey McBride has not scored a touchdown all year. And
It's coming.
it's insane. He is the tight end 3 in this league, is the tight end 2 in some other leagues that I'm in. And he has not scored a single touchdown. It's absolutely wild.
Well,
but
he
he's still
hasn't.
been fantastic.
He hasn't caught a touchdown. He did score a touchdown.
He did fall on that touchdown the one time. So you're right. He did score
But they
a
are.
touchdown.
But the Cardinals are like, he doesn't have a touchdown this year because they're just not counting. They're like, no, doesn't count. He's gonna catch one. It's coming. If you got your betting lines going, go ahead and throw Trey McBride anytime TD on there until he gets it. Like, it'll cash at some point. They're forcing him the ball
he
at
does
the goal
get the
line.
ball a lot.
So go for it.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray can't throw a touchdown. That's the issue. It all goes to James Conner, who punches it in instead. But yeah, solid week. I know that you said that you were gonna put your absolute best lineup forward in a kind of diluted attempt to say, like, okay, if I would have made the playoffs, I would have been able to topple the teams. Unfortunately, 180 and 190 is just, it's incredible. It's way too tough. There's definitely other playoff teams you could have crushed. I think, obviously Eric and Brian Thomas 32 points is nuts. He was so good. 2 touchdowns. That's an awesome stat line. 10 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns is like, that's what you want.
Yeah,
That's what I want. I don't even want more than that. If I could just get 2 of those every week, that's all I need.
No, 26 points would have put me at 182, something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, you just need Saquon Barkley to not have lost a step.
Yeah, all right.
We're not getting into that. They went with the hot hand. I agree. Kenneth Gainwell kind of like popped off, and it's Pittsburgh. It's tough. But Devon Achane could have put up like a 40-point week for you, like he has been, and that would have been pretty cool. No, but like Eric, Alex, even Chris put up less than you. So if you would have faced the right person in the playoffs, perhaps, may chance.
Perhaps.
But I think the 3 and 4 seed are definitely who you're going to end up against, and that would have been 180, 190, and it's rough.
Either way, the same can't be said for Dylan in this matchup. Only 96 points. He did have some great performances out of his Bucks players, but everything else was pretty sad. And then 0 out of Jalen Waddle.
And
0
Jalen Waddle
out of Devon Vele. 2 goose eggs for him. He wants the poop hat, and he's going strong for it there. Yeah, so that's that. We talked real briefly about some things happening this week, like Alvin Kamara getting injured and things like that. So there were a few waiver ads. I don't have any of our little graphs to talk about here like I've had in the past, but we can at least look at the bracket and see that Ricky now moves out of his bye and faces against Riley after his win at the top of the bracket here, and Chris now comes out and plays against Nate in the bottom of the bracket. Alex and Eric for that 5th place spot. We finally have Mike coming out of the toilet bowl bye and Artie doing the same. Artie and Corey is going to be a matchup that I'm sure people are super excited about. But the ghost of Mike versus Dylan here for the right to be in the toilet bowl finale is something that is somehow hotly contested. So we'll see what ends up happening there as we get to the projection preview. And then me and Lehman having a nice little battle of playoff misser supremacy here. Everyone who's in the bottom half of the league is looking up to us. At least we're the big fish in the small pond right now. At least we're telling ourselves that, and looking to see who the biggest is in this one.
Yeah, I mean, if you miss the playoffs but you're in 8th place, that's a miss. But if you miss in 7th place, that's like a near miss. It's like a hey, anything could have happened. It would have been a being the 7th place team is just like, yeah, I was one step out. But at least I wasn't 2 steps away from the playoffs. I think it does mean something, even though I'm playing it up a little bit. I think it does feel nice to be right up beside the playoffs and be like, yeah, I almost got.
Could have been a contender. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's talk real quickly about the waiver ads from this week here and see if anything important happened there as we get down to the wire, and then we can finish off this episode strong with the week 2 playoff matchups. But let's get to the wire.
Down to the wire.
All right, we had a little bit of action. Like I said, one of the main things here was that Kendre Miller was still up for grabs. There was 3 claims for this one. You put one in. Riley needed to put one in because he had Kamara. But Dylan putting in for Kendre Miller wanted to get him himself here. I love to see the moves still being made from everybody in the league, no matter what position you're in. Always want to be putting the best team that you can out there. And Dylan likes to play a little bit of spoiler. He's having some fun with it, and he picked up Kendre Miller. And that puts Riley in a tough spot, so that was pretty funny. You managed to pick up a couple depth pieces here. Jalen McMillan, you're pretty hyped about. Go ahead and talk me through that one.
Well, Jalen McMillan, I do think that hey, if you need a flex guy in your league, or you're between like 2 kind of like mediocre guys, if you're still thinking about like flexing out Adam Thielen at this point, Jalen McMillan is about to torch the Dallas Cowboys. I personally don't have room to start him in my team. I'm not going to bench Tyreek Hill or Malik Neighbors to play Jalen McMillan this week. However, I took him as a takeaway. I mean, I don't want Riley looking at Tyrone Tracy and going, well, what if it was like a 30-point Jalen McMillan game instead? Or who else is? His depth is kind of dried up. Like Darnell Mooney is now catching passes from Penix. God, who's the other wide receiver? The fringe guy that he's got, the waiver guy. Oh, it's Josh Downs into Tennessee. Like, that's rough, right? If he needed to pivot at wide receiver, I felt like Jalen McMillan was kind of the clear choice there, and I could be wrong.
A little bit of a block on Riley there.
Block. Same thing with Brendan Strange is a little different. That's insurance for Bowers going down. I had Mayer. I'm like, hey, listen, if I don't really want the Raiders tight end unless it's Brock Bowers. Even though Michael Mayer has been pretty decent, Mac Jones is kind of putting it together. The Renaissance. And he knows how to find a tight end.
Yeah, and no Evan Ingram could mean more volume for Strange, for sure. We did get a little bit of a defensive switch up for the Goofy Goobers. He picked up, might be Nathaniel Cross. I don't really remember who this is. But Mr. Cross on the Colts is now on the Goofy Goobers and maybe making a start this week. But, not a ton of waivers, but did definitely have to address that Kendre Miller ad. That was big and has a few implications in and of itself. We had a few free agent moves as well because Riley did need some more depth. Dropped Kenny Pickett and Sincere McCormick and picked up a couple running backs. See if he ends up going with either of those guys or just sticks with Brian Robinson and whatever else he has going here. But why don't we go ahead and find out? Let's take a look at the projection preview, and we can figure out what's going on in Week 16 and Round 2 of the playoffs.
Projection preview.
All right, yeah, let's talk about here. I did briefly mention the dogs versus the sleepers. How this one was something that not really anybody, I'm sure, was going to be paying close attention to. But Artie is projected to come out on top by about 10 points rather. But Xavier Legette is projected for 0. We'll see if Corey ends up swapping in George Pickens. If George Pickens does play on Saturday, or if anything else happens with Corey's lineup. But in any case here, these guys are just playing for pride and to see who was truly worse on this season here. We'll see who ends up moving on to the toilet bowl from this one. You have any remarks about this matchup?
My prediction is exactly George Pickens. If George Pickens plays, the dogs will win. And if George Pickens does not play, the sleepers will win. That's it.
There it is.
Quote me on that later. I don't want to get into it anymore. I saw Sterling Shepard in the flex spot, and I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, exactly. Not the high-flying fantasy action that we all know and love in the Dimmadome here, but some matchup action regardless. So we had to talk about it.
They're sunsetting, you know? They're moving to Florida, just like our resident Floridian, and sunsetting. It's okay.
Yep, they're riding off into the sunset, and that's what we'll see here as well. In this matchup, it's the Herbert the Perverts versus the Poop Hat Will Be Mine. 2 more teams swirling down the drain in the toilet bowl. We'll see if Rachaad White has more in him, or if Bucky Irving is back to take his job again. I think Dylan at this point, with the way his team is named, is almost hoping for that. It looks like he's riding Devon Vele out.
He goosed him last week. He's hoping for a goose again.
Yeah, he's been consistent with the goosing. I'm surprised HIV used needle isn't in there for him, but he's been good the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So
Tony Pollard's out. You can't put him in. No, I mean, this is somewhat more interesting than the last matchup, simply because the Perverts are a team that deserve the poop hat. And Dylan is very much trying to play okay starters, but he's essentially tanking, or just mismanaging to the point where
he's still favored, which is hilarious. I don't know. His team,
it's because Mike deserves the poop hat.
Mike's team doesn't
Dylan's just trying to get it.
That bad, right? I mean, he's got Justin Jefferson. Kyle Pitts has been super disappointing again. Xavier Worthy, I don't even know why he gets projected double-digit points, because he never gets that.
He put up 20 last week.
Well, okay, there we go then.
He popped off. No, I mean...
Let's go, Mike!
Mike might win. Yeah,
Take
Mike
him down,
win.
Mike! Prove the haters wrong.
But yeah, man, I feel like Mike's had Kyle Pitts, like, a couple of the years now at least, and, like... The people who keep drafting Kyle Pitts
What's wrong with you people?
Are sociopaths. Yeah. I've never drafted him. And next year I can go, ooh, maybe I'll draft Kyle Pitts this year. And I'm well within my right to try it once, okay? But to do it more than once is insanity. Stop doing it. Knock it off. It doesn't work. Kirk Cousins can't save you. Moving on.
Let's move on to one more match. Like I said, not in the toilet bowl, but still at the bottom half. It was me and Lehman here. Lehman is projected to win this one, but it's pretty close. And we're going to watch on Sunday afternoon Josh Allen versus Drake May to be a big deciding factor in this one. There's still going to be some action later on than that with Bucky Irving going Sunday night. And I don't know if we have anything going Monday. It doesn't look like we do. So yeah, it'll be up to Bucky Irving at the end, but this will be a big part of the finale of this matchup and of our seasons. Win or lose, we're done after this one here. We will have our places decided. and it's a little bit bittersweet. I'd rather go out with a bang, go out with a win, and take Lehman down one more time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lehman's a little bit. I know he's favored, but a little bit of a disadvantage here. I mean, this is the 8th place game. Luke, you've been here 3 times in the 3 years that we've played in the Dimmadome.
Man,
So, I
up.
mean, you have the experience. You're currently 1 and 2, so you've finished 7th, 8th, and then 8th.
Oh no! Wait,
You
that's not
kind
good.
of you kind of need the win. I've always memed that like you're gonna draft a 7th place team. I think it even caught on this year. They're like, yeah, Luke does all the prep and then he drafts a 7th place
Get
team.
seventh
But
place. Yep.
you've been drafting 8th place teams, Luke. Like
Oh
you need to put up here. Uh,
no!
so I'm rooting for you so that my meme can live on. And also, you know, so you can have a nice even record. You wouldn't want to go 1 in 3 8th place
That's
game
so sad that I've been in this game every year. I knew I
every year. This is
that's
where the road ends, Luke. Every year.
it always comes back to this, no matter how hard I try.
You've never played a week 17 in the Dimmadome in
I'm
your
not
life.
looking at it. Shut up. I'm not looking at it. I'm done with that. We're done with that matchup.
You're welcome, everyone else in the league, because now you guys get that.
Well,
You're
let's
welcome.
let's look at another end all be all matchup here. It's the 69ers versus the Stroud Boys, eliminated from the playoffs, playing for 5th and 6th here. It's again, they're
Rattled him.
going out with a last hurrah. Alex had a rough week last week, and Eric actually had a pretty good week, all things considered, for his team. We'll see if the same thing happens for them here. But there's been a lot of disappointment for both of these guys this year. Even though they made the playoffs, this kind of feels like a fitting end for them. Even Alex said himself, we really did end up getting the 4 best teams to be left in the playoffs, I think. So congratulations to everybody, yourself included.
Oh, thanks.
I think it's been a great season so far, and I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'm fully aware that I'm the villain because I've just been riding in the top spot for so long. I know I've tried to be humble in the chat and be like, "No, guys, I'm vulnerable too." But hey, the 23 and whatever is left there for losses, I think it's like 25 or something like that. 23 and 3. It's a good record. 23 and 5. I had it. It's been easy and fun, and so I appreciate that. I understand that I get to be everyone's villain here. I'm the guy to take down. But that being said, I do agree. 4 best teams are in the playoffs, and no easy wins from here on out. Everyone here's taken at least 5 losses. So it's on the table.
Let's enough dancing around it here. Let's talk about these playoff matchups that we talked about with our 4 best teams, starting with yours here. You are favored against Riley, the George Droid team here, but not by a ton. Well, it is 20. You're favored by 20. It's quite a bit right now, and it could get worse if Alvin Kamara doesn't end up playing. So Riley's got a tough hill to climb. Ricky's numbers prove why he's the number 1 seed. And it's gonna be rough for Riley to try to overcome this. But it all starts tonight with the Broncos against the Chargers, and even what you described should be a pretty low-scoring divisional matchup on a short week.
Yeah, I mean that's the hope. Is that it would be low scoring, except for the fact that it's the Denver Broncos defense. I realize I'm contradicting myself there. I just think that Herbert isn't going to throw a lot of interceptions and make mistakes. I think that Denver could definitely get out of there with like their 10 or 12 points, right? I think that the projections are, yes, they're 20 apart, sure, but they're not factoring in the Zin zone that's been going on down there, okay? I recognize that I am not going to win this matchup unless I can replicate my own Zin zone. That's why I've loaded up with the Green Bay defense, Caden Ellis, and I have Justin Tucker in there. He's a security blanket for if a drive fails for the Ravens. Hopefully Justin Tucker can get me some points. That's all he's there for. He's butt. He's trash. I should probably switch him out, but he's just supposed to be the security blanket for if Lamar Jackson falls short. Honestly, saying it out loud now, I feel like it's not enough of a moonshot to take down like 180 points. Because he put up 5 points last week because he just kicked in 5 field goals because Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdowns. So, like, you know, it's a little hedgy for the playoffs, and I'm rethinking it now. But that being said, I've paid a lot of attention to these bottom 3 simply because I know that's where Riley's going to get a lot of his production from. It's not going to come from Brian Robinson. Tyrone Tracy's going to do enough. Alvin Kamara was a big spike guy for him, but if he doesn't go Monday or if he's questionable and he can't, he doesn't have a good pivot option, that's rough for him. A lot of this is looking for ways to like balance out what Riley's putting up and not lose to him as opposed to try to beat him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that can be a slippery slope, but we'll see if your tactics here manage to shore up some of your weaknesses, or if they create some of their own. But one last tip for Riley here before we go: please, if you're gonna try to start Alvin Kamara, move him to your flex slot. Take Tyrone Tracy and put him in your running back slot. So if he doesn't go, you could pick up a Green Bay wide receiver or
Stop
a
listening,
Saints
Riley.
wide receiver. Because if you leave him there and you don't have Kendre Miller, which you don't, you're pivoting into Emmanuel Wilson or Jamal Williams. And I don't think either of those options are that good for... Or did Emmanuel Wilson even get shut down? So, I don't know.
Wait, he's back. Marshawn Lloyd is back this week. It's a Marshawn Lloyd week.
Hell yeah.
That being said, there's going to be like a trickle going in here. Thursday night, Broncos are kicking us off, but then it goes into Saturday, Ravens, Jackson, Henry. I don't, does he have Houston on his team anywhere? Because it's Houston, KC, and Ravens, Pittsburgh. Okay, so just the Ravens popping off, hopefully. So by the time Sunday rolls around, I'll know whether or not I can just kind of coast, play it easy, or if I need to make up for like a bad Lamar. I am a little concerned about the Pittsburgh matchup. I've gone back and forth about it. I think that they've prepared for their divisional rival. That hopefully will be a Lamar Jackson statement game. That's the hope.
Yeah, a lot to be decided in a big Ravens chunk on Saturday, which is nice for our playoff week that we get Saturday games as well. Big football action this week before Christmas here. Always fun and exciting for that. I think, God, Christmas is a Wednesday, but is there a Christmas game? We're going to have to figure that out next week, I believe.
There is a Christmas game on Wednesday. Maybe that's why they put KC on a Saturday. It's KC Raiders, I thought. No, that was Black Friday.
Yeah.
Christmas game. I bet you it's like Houston or something. Sorry. Looking it up live. Week 17. Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans. Okay, so we have 2 Christmas games, and it's just the inverse of what's happening this week. We had the Ravens and Steelers playing on Saturday and the Chiefs and Texans playing on Saturday. And that's because they didn't want to give them a super short week for the Wednesday game.
Crazy.
That is crazy that they figured it out like that. But
and that has some implications for this here podcast. I don't know when I'm going to record it and get it out at any point, especially because it's God, game's on Wednesday next week. Means I have to have it out Wednesday. Yeah, I have to. Oh, man. We'll figure that out later. But before we figure any of that out, we'll finish breaking down the matchups for this week here. That includes this one, which is shaping up to be a nice one. The Goobers versus the Women in the Kitchen. Chris coming out of the bye week, looking to stay hot like he was at the end and really the entire season this past season. T. Higgins still coming back out. Terry McLaurin, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs. All these guys have been super consistent for him this year, Joe Burrow included. And, Kittle, London. I mean, Drake London versus the Giants normally would make you excited, but with the new quarterback, we'll see what happens there.
Michael Penix is a huge question mark for you to be throwing your team in the playoffs. I mean, it's rough to just go, hey, Drake London, I hope Michael Penix can feed you the ball. And maybe he can. He might just pop off. It could be an upgrade. You don't know. It's a question mark, and that's really scary. At least a question mark. I mean, I don't know. I say at least. Rico Dowdle has been incredibly efficient, and has just, I think the last 4 weeks, each week he sets a higher career high for rushing yards. So Bro is climbing the ladder right now, going up against Tampa Bay, who you can run on. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. Something that sticks out to me here is T. Higgins right across from Jamar Chase, with a Joe Burrow kicker on the side of the women. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I know what you want there. You want Joe Burrow to throw to T. Higgins, kind of ignore Jamar Chase that game.
Yeah, but when does that happen?
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to hope that T. Higgins ties Jamar Chase and that Joe Burrow can kind of soak up the auxiliary points there, and that Jordan Love doesn't do something similar against a Marshawn Lattimore-less New Orleans, basically not playing for this point. Or might be playing for something, depending on how the weeks go. It's going to be Monday night, Jacobs versus Love, in a game that may or may not matter for the Saints.
Yeah, we'll see if the Saints even bring their A game, or if they're already eliminated by then by the virtue of someone else winning. At least you know that, if you're Chris, you know that Jamar Chase, who has been the quote-unquote playoff killer, the killer of hopes and dreams so far at the end of this season here, he's not scoring a single point without you getting some as well. So that could help neutralize a big part of Nate's offense, but, you could say the same thing in the other way for Nate versus Joe Burrow in some sense, at least. Yeah, you hope you get all of it for T. Higgins if you're Chris there, but that'll be a big part of it. We have action all over the week on this one, though. No Thursday game, but Saturday for Nico Collins, Monday night for Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon on Saturday. It's going to span across the whole thing, even Daniil Hunter on Saturday as well as TJ Watt and Chris Boswell. So we're going to get a lot of information early in the weekend on this one, and then be waiting until Monday to see how it all finishes out. I mean, me and Ricky before the show were saying that, to factor in Tucker Kraft to it as well, Chris is going to want to be up by 10 to 15, 10 to 20 points, more even. Tucker Kraft's been good at the end of the year so far. If he wants to have a chance of winning, it's gonna have to be, you're gonna have to be carrying a big lead.
Yeah, like a 20-point lead going into Monday night, or you're basically hoping for a Josh Jacobs ground game extraordinaire, and Jordan Love to hurt his pinky and get benched or something. Happens. It happens. We don't usually do this during the regular season, but you have a prediction? You want to call a shot? I have a way I'm leaning right now on this matchup.
For who's going to win this one?
Yeah.
Honestly, Chris has just been too strong this year. I think it's going to be Chris. I think his guys just continue to be stable, and all of Nate's players have had their ups and their downs. He's going to need them to all have their ups to win. And he's benching the guy who just scored 50 points last week. Devontae Smith hasn't seen the field in a couple weeks. Jordan Addison. It's tough, man. It's tough if you're Nate. I get it, but man, you miss on any one of these decisions, it feels like, and it could be over for you.
He does have a lot of decisions there, yeah.
Whereas, what is Chris deciding? He's deciding whether or not he wants to trust Drake London with Michael Penix, and it's not like Kirk Cousins is dead. If they're having a hard time, the Falcons still fancy themselves a playoff team. Kirk could come in at the half, so it's really not the end of the world versus what Jerome Ford or Quentin Johnson or put in Jonnu Smith because he's been good, right? So Chris isn't sitting here sweating. He's got his team that's been doing the shit that it's been doing that put him on that 18-game win streak or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And it's just hard not to side with that.
I see your point, but I think I favor Nate here, and it's because of the matchups. James Conner into Carolina is so good. Nico Collins into KC is, I think he's kind of neutral. You can't run on KC, which I think hurts Joe Mixon, who's also a little banged up, right? And it lends itself more towards the Nico Collins kind of win condition there. Plus, they know Joe Mixon's banged up going into it, so maybe they're already planning on lightening his load a bit, so he doesn't have to run into Chris Jones. I want to say Johnson. That's not right. He's kind of got the safety net there of Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow on the other side. Like, if they go nuclear against Cleveland, Jamar Chase is going to be part of it. I don't see a world where Jamar Chase gets like 10 points and T. Higgins gets 30. I think best case scenario, they're even for Chris. I don't know. I agree. He has more decisions to make and more room for error on those decisions. I just like his matchups a little better. Drake London's spooky.
I can't imagine trusting my season to Rico Dowdle. He's been good, but Rico Dowdle over like Devonta Smith or Jordan Addison to me makes my
Jordan Addison's close for me, but look at Dowdle, man. Look at the last 4 weeks for Dowdle. It's just been good. Like I said, new rushing record every week. There aren't a lot of touchdowns coming in. That's something to consider. And the receiving work has kind of dried up, but on the ground, he's just been efficient almost always. And I don't know. I don't know what the Cowboys are going to. I don't know. I lean Nate. I just have a feeling in my gut that it's going to be Nate. Mostly, I don't know who I'm more scared to see in the championship should I get there.
Ooh, don't get too far ahead of yourself, Ricky.
I said, should I get there? I'm just saying, who would be scarier to see the championship? I can also say, who would Riley be more scared in the championship should he get there? I don't know. I feel like it's Nate. I think Drake London could dry up this week with Penix. Then all of a sudden, he's down 20 points a game. I don't know.
Well, if we end up having the time to put an episode together next week here, I'm sure we'll have plenty of material to break down to make that decision here. But
after Monday Night Football, Luke, you and me,
hey, maybe
a straight reaction from the games closing out. People haven't even talked about it in the chat. We're just straight into it.
There's going to be one day between the end of this week and the beginning of next week. Good.
Yeah, and it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, make your waiver claims, idiots. Make sure you put that shit in on time. Oh, my God. Well, I hope you're not, everybody at home listening, wherever you are, hope you're not too stressed about waiver claims on Christmas Eve. I hope your matchups go well this week and your players don't get injured. I hope everyone has a fun and an awesome holiday with their family, a very Merry Christmas, and enjoys some amazing football this week and next. Who knows when I'll talk to you next here? But Ricky, any more notes for them before the playoff round and before the holiday here?
Yeah, yeah. Follow Allah. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And go Sorcerers. To the chip. To the chip.
Sorcerers to the chip, according to Ricky. We'll see who actually gets there in the end. But until then, great football to everyone. Thanks for listening. Good night.
Thank you for listening to the DFL Breakdown. Tune in next week for more.
Ring a ding a ding dong ding.